I first want to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land that we stand on today, and then tell you a little bit about my history. Feels like I should hold this up like a trophy. With PBWA. It started some time ago when I was working in the Kimberleys as a Children's Services Officer, going around with Kathleen and a few others to places around the West Kimberley. Then once we got the bug of protective behaviours, we were going out to places like Beagle Bay and getting right involved in the schools in Beagle Bay, Derby, Fitzroy Crossing, Broome, working with protective behaviours in the refuge, in the prison, in the rehab centre outside of Broome. So protective behaviours was like my absolute baby, and I was delivering it everywhere I went. It got so much a part of my life that I convinced all my family to go and do protective behaviours training. So Kathleen had my mum, my sister, and they had all my family members doing protective behaviours training at one stage. It was one hell of a show. And protective behaviours, I teach. I've got 2 grandsons, and as soon as they're able to walk and talk, I teach them how to say the words about stop, you know, it's my body, you're not allowed to touch it. And when I'm changing them or bathing them or cleaning them, even though their father is a Torres Strait Islander, my husband is a Maori and I'm Aboriginal, we have 3 different languages talking about body parts. We still call it the penis and the vagina, so that if anything ever happens, they know exactly what to say. And working at Kate, it's even more reason why I need them to know how to say the correct names when I interview children and they're talking about all different things. And I always tell people about the story about the secret pocket. And I said that's why, you know, if you tell them the correct words straight up, it's going to be so much easier if they do get interviewed, and then people know exactly what they're saying when they use those words. And in my culture, and my husband's culture and my son-in-law's culture, to say those words out in public and to talk about those words is big shame. You know, you could get into serious trouble for saying those words, and but I had to overcome that and talk about that. Even for myself was big shame when I used to first hear it. But now I had to overcome that for the safety of my grandchildren and the safety of all the other children by having enough courage to talk about those body parts and talk about the safety and unsafe and talk about the unsafe and safe hugs, so that now that everybody can have the courage to speak about it and everyone have the courage to go and educate other children about it. In the Maori culture, they like to rub the nose and do when they meet each other. So every time we go back to New Zealand for a death or for whatever, there's all this hugging and rubbing noses and getting very close into our personal space. So when my children were very small, I said to them, would you like to do? Do you want to do what Dad does, or do you want to shake their hand? What do you want to do? And they said, we just want to give a high five or shake the hand. I said, well, you do that, because if you don't feel safe by doing that, you do what you feel safe at doing. So I had to educate the Maori culture that my children did not feel safe doing that, because they didn't know you were a stranger, you weren't in their safe zone. So they want to give you a high five or shake your hand, that's what you have to accept. And so it was educating them, it was educating my family about not letting the kids running around the backyard with no clothes on, not letting the kids run around the house with no clothes on when we have visitors. This has now become a public space because we have visitors. So those kids need to put their clothes on. And Mum said, oh, but you know, it's all right. So then when they started doing protective behaviours, they would be saying to other people, you know, people are coming, put some clothes on their kids, you know, this is public now and you don't know what those people are thinking. So it's now become embedded in all our family about protective behaviours, and it's a wonderful tool that we use all the time. Even for my brother who's 40, who was having anxiety about going to work because he wanted to biff someone. And I said, okay, I want to teach you a little bit about early warning signs and about these things that are going to happen to your body. And when you're having those signs, what you need to do is you need to put yourself in a safe area and take yourself away from it. So he comes home and he tells me, hey sis, I used them early warning signs you talked to me about. And I'll tell you what, it saved me knocking him out. So it works for everyone. You're never too young or you're never too old to learn about protective behaviours, that's what I say. And using this booklet, I have been using it at Aboriginal communities like Warralong and Yandiara, and going out to Marble Bar, to Nullagine, to all the communities that don't get to hear about this stuff, and talking to all the kids in the classroom about this, and showing them these beautiful pictures and reading these stories. And they are so intrigued because the story follows all the way through with Layla and her brother, and talks about the Nan and talks about their community. And the stories in here are wonderful stories for the teacher to read the children. And then I know a lot of them can't write, so I get them to draw in the spaces, and it's so adaptable to use. And when they see the colour, they're like, oh, we're going to take this home. Can we take this home? Yeah, you can take it home. And as soon as they take it home and show their family, then their aunties and their grandmothers will be stopping it in the street. You know the things that you did with the kids at school? How about you come home tonight and this afternoon and do with their little kids? I said, yeah, all right, I'll come there and do with their little kids. So we sit around and we have a big yarn about this, and we talk about which is the safe places and who can you talk to, and about people on your networks. And we're in the Onslow, and the kids in that community had a lot of problems with registered sex offenders in that community. And they were walking down the streets going, stop! Nobody touch my body, belong to me! And I'm driving past and I can see them doing this, and then I waved to them and they called me over and they said, can you teach these kids, like on the street, can you just teach these kids because they want to know what we're saying? So, you know, like it's such an powerful tool that it's just wonderful to be a part of. And I just want to encourage you all to grab hold of it and use it as much as I've used it and get as much joy out of it that I have got out of it.